So being the early part of the year, just after Christmas, I thought we'd have a look at the Sarcococcus and look at 4 or 5 species all in one go so that you can get an idea of the one which might be suitable for your garden. The common name for Sarcococca is Christmas box, and some of them are spreading ground cover shrubs and some of them are small shrubs in their own right. This is Sarcococca hookeriana var. Digna, which is a wonderful ground cover plant. It only grows up to about a maximum of 2 feet, and it's been growing away here under this large beech tree for at least 30 if not 40 years. Each year it flowers profusely, and there is a scent on a day when it isn't windy and you've got a chance to smell it. And if you're lucky, you will find a few blackberries, very rounded blackberries, again in the autumn. I mean, this is maybe a plant for a dark corner, something where the soil is quite poor and somewhere you just want to cover up and forget about it. Here you see a few snowdrops growing in with it and a few daffodils coming up as well, which adds to the seasonal effect. It's not something you necessarily want to put in the front of your herbaceous border, but it's a very useful plant in the garden nonetheless. Sarcococca hookeriana var. Digna. This is a completely different sort of Sarcococca, and this is really quite a large shrub. This is Sarcococca wallichii, and I'm afraid we've missed the flowering here today because it flowers earlier than the other species. You can just see where the flowers were, but the flowers are gone. A very attractive foliage, quite happy growing in shade. And although I think the birds have eaten them, this has a wonderful display around about Christmas time of enormous blackberries. So this is a shrub for the back of a shady corner in the back of a border, or freestanding in a woodland garden as this one is here today. And this is a rather smaller Sarcococca, Sarcococca orientalis, which is a small shrub, again very happy in full shade and certainly doesn't want to be in a hot spot where it's going to dry out. The male flowers have pink tinged anthers, and when the flowers come out, that's the first thing you see. I thought we were in time to catch the flowers here, but we seem to have missed them. I've never actually seen berries on Sarcococca orientalis, but it was an introduction which Roy Lancaster made in 1981. Prior to that, this was known only in China and wasn't seen in our gardens. I think it has the prettiest of all the flowers and is something you could probably grow in a shady spot in a pot and appreciate a bit of scent around about Christmas time or on into January. This is Sarcococca ruscifolia, which was introduced from China in 1904 by Ernest Wilson, the great plant explorer. And this is not a large shrub, but a shrub that grows with us up to about 4 or 5 feet. And we find it grows well up against a wall, particularly a shady wall, where it flowers away and scents the air. It's a bit of a trailing, sort of sprawling plant, but it certainly has its place here, where you can see a rubus is growing through it, but that makes no difference to it. And this one, unlike the others we've looked at, has bright red berries. And strangely, the birds haven't seen fit to gobble those up as yet. But you can see you have the flowers which are just nearly over, and then berries all on the same plant. Never a huge number of berries perhaps, but enough to catch the eye and make you wonder. And what a contrast that is between the red and the green. Really quite an exciting little plant. So this is yet another species of Sarcococca, and this one is called Sarcococca saligna, and it was introduced from China in 1908, and as you can see it grows about 3 or 4 feet in a somewhat cascading fashion. This one flowers in November, and we're left today with just a few berries that they look black from a distance, but actually they're really dark purple, and they're not huge numbers of them. You've got to look closely and find 1 or 2. Now this is a suckering and spreading shrub, so you want to contain it, and here we grow it in a little alcove behind a gate, and it's not strong enough to run out and sucker up into the gravel. And you can also see quite clearly that where it's more in the shade, the leaves are greener, and where it's exposed to proper sunlight, you find the leaves get a bit yellow. I mean, it's a useful plant for filling up a dark, dank corner where nothing much else would grow, but it's not that exciting a plant. When the flowers are out in November, they are quite strongly scented, and you suddenly get a whiff of them as you pass by on a still day. But between the 5 species of Sarcococca which we've looked at, you see a distinct variation in the foliage, distinct variation in the height to which they grow. They're all shade-loving plants. They're all plants with very small white flowers that are scented, and the berries are quite nice. Not pole position in the border, but something to tuck away in a corner you want to fill up with something evergreen that does nice things out of season.